Hello, hockey fans. Hey, howdy, how you doing? Drop the Gloves, episode 11, brought to you by the good folks at Underdog Nutrition. If you have done what you've been asked to do through the first 10 episodes and you have taken the chance to go to Underdog Nutrition's Facebook page and you've liked it, then you've seen the stuff, especially the last 10 days. You've seen them ramp up getting ready for Christmas. Sales, drawings. They're making it pretty hard. It's pretty hard to not go spend money with them. And that is one thing. There's a few things. I love Gillette. On occasions, you can run into some pretty piss poor customer service here. There are some places and businesses that make it really hard. They won't take your money. It's hard to spend money with them. Underdog Nutrition, that is not them. They are more than happy to take your money. If you have questions, maybe working out is not your thing, but somebody in your family, that's their jam, then here's what you need to do. You need to go, swing by, get the number on Facebook, call them, do what you need to do, get a gift certificate. If you walk in there and you see, I'm not going to lie, I don't know what any of that stuff is. Like I said, the wife, the daughters, they work out, they stay in great shape. It's obviously, you're looking at it right now. I do not. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a gift certificate. I'm going to slide it into a stocking, or maybe what you do is get a gift certificate and put it in one of the cards that you open that it seems like Jingle Bells or something. I think they still have the card. I'm sure they do with the fancy batteries now that it'll play a song or something. Get that, put it in there, open it, and then your loved one can go in there, pick out what they want. It's win-win for everybody. Boom, boom, you're in and out. You're not making a mistake getting somebody something that they're not going to use because you don't know where they're at in their workout regimen. Go get a gift certificate. Slide it. Bam. Best Christmas present ever. Underdog Nutrition. You need to check them out. All right, another great weekend. Boys, go up to Bozeman. Sweep the weekend. It was a little tight. It was a little hairy Friday night. Saturday night, I did not get the opportunity to watch live. Friday, I did. I was actually at the folks' house. Everyone was tired a little early, not quite feeling the best. So I had the opportunity to just throw the game up on the big screen there in the living room and just kind of chill and watch. And much the same as last weekend, we're coming to you. This one here, I'm in the dining room, okay? Back up here in Gillette. So what happened was, I have a little stick that we record the interviews with the guys. It's my missus, MRS, my mobile recording stick. The fellas took that with them up to Bozeman this weekend. There was some miscommunication between Ethan and myself. Monday night, Alex and Tucker walk into the meadery. They're looking at me, I'm looking at them. None of my shit's set up and ready. We're just staring. I'm like, hey, you guys got the stick? And they're like, we don't have a stick. So I get a hold of Ethan. Total miscommunication, but we had planned for this. I don't have to tell anybody. This is a big week. This might be as big a week as the Wild have had here in a long time. Friday and Saturday they'll be in Helena, undefeated Gillette. It's going to be a great weekend of hockey. There's whispers that it's going to be sold out. So if you are friends, family, making the trip up there, Kim has put some posts on the social media stuff too. You need to get your tickets before you make that 6-hour drive and get up there and they're like, no, you can't come in. Because I would be upset with that. So, knowing that they had the week they were going to have, and knowing that Monday I basically screwed up and Alex and Tucker could not have been cooler, although they did kind of look at me like, what? Come on, dude. So I apologize. We'll have them next week. What we did do is back September, maybe the first or second weekend, we actually sat down and spoke with a couple of the officials. One I go way back with to when I first started volunteering and helping with the Wild. It was actually a game Seth Mackey worked. We talked about that game in the interview a little bit because it was, I mean, there's coaches were MFing the refs 9 seconds into the game. It was, I did not know at the time kind of what I had got myself into. And then his partner that worked it with him, Dave Bryant, he's officiated hockey for, he goes back away. I'm not calling him old. I'm just saying he's experienced. He's seen a lot of hockey. Now, the other thing that you're going to see when you watch this is it's going to look like we did do Dave dirty a little bit, okay? When we shoot these interviews, this was kind of the first time in getting into it. I use on the iPhone, we use the camera that's like the farthest zoomed out that almost makes the fisheye kind of lens. And well, it makes Dave look like he's that tall. So Dave, we did you dirty. This is also back before we had the nice microphone that I'm wearing now. So the audio, I think it turns out okay. There's a couple little spots, but we played with it and you're gonna be able to hear it and it's gonna do well. So other than that, the episode, it's gonna follow the same pattern. We are going to get into the Wild's weekend that was. We're going to have the interview. It's a good interview. I wanted to interview those guys just from the perspective of they answer a lot of questions about the refs and the hometown and oh, they're screwing this team and they're not screwing. They're not screwing it. They don't care. You might find this hard to believe. These refs that show up to these games, they don't give a shit until either a coach or a player or someone in the crowd or someone gives them a reason not to give a shit about screwing your team. So, clean slate every night, every weekend when it starts. You can have a bad Friday that sets stuff up for Saturday, and that's more stuff that we get into then. Then after it's done, we'll wrap it up, talk a little bit about the weekend up there in Helena, and be ready to go. So, Bozeman does not have a play-by-play guy. I had some nice comments about the raw audio. So we just did her the same way again. All you're going to get here is the replay back of just the raw audio. You can hear the boys celebrating. You hear some, there's some adult language. There's a couple times it got real chippy, especially on Saturday. So here's, if big kid words bother you a little bit, turn the volume down a little bit during it. That's what it's going to be. So, hockey. Okay? So, let's get to it. Now, we look back at the Wild's weekend that was. All right, we now welcome on a couple special guests. Seth Mackey, Dave Bryant. They spend their weekends driving hundreds and hundreds, sometimes thousands of miles, pretty much for you guys to tell them how terrible the job they're doing at what they're coming up to do. So first, guys, thank you for taking some time.
All right, thanks.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
we're taping this in kind of mid-September. The weather's still nice. You guys came up, did a Friday night, Saturday night combo series. First, you guys went and golfed this morning.
Yeah,
Yes, sir. Belknap Golf Course.
How was it?
it was great.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Highly recommended. It was, greens were a little quick, super quick. Not
Yeah.
used to that, but 78, not a bad track.
Yeah,
It was great.
It seems like every community or town we go to, there's always something to go do in the community or give back to the community. You know, it's fun.
So is that something you guys look to do, like when you get your schedule and you see where you're going? First of all, how far out are you scheduled?
Typically, it's the month before. So right now, any day now, we should get the October schedule. I have 2 games in October currently. Those were kind of by request. But the full schedule for October should be within like the next 4 days. She tries to get it out by the 20th. And she'll ask for availability and then just fill us in wherever we can.
Okay, when you say she, who are you? Like, who is this? Are you working at the NA3H level down in Dallas, or kind of where are you guys working there?
So Nicole Hyman, she does the scheduling for up here. It's all the Frontier division. So this is her baby. She takes care of the entire Frontier from Rapid to Cody up in Montana, everywhere. So the entire Frontier division is hers. So every time I kind of say her, it's Nicole kind of taking the realm of everything we need.
Okay. Now, are you guys? Do you usually try to work in pairs? Like, do you guys try to go? Because you guys are both from Colorado, correct?
Denver, yeah.
Okay, Denver.
Colorado Springs.
Colorado Springs. Okay, so do you guys try to go together as often as you can, or do you guys work with pairs, or kind of how does the teamwork work with that?
We can work with anybody. I mean, we can end up anywhere.
Okay. So
It's kind of a catch-22 because obviously we have our more preferred partners. I'll be the one to say that.
Yeah.
Everyone has their schedule where we'll click on a game assignment and like I have 6 games with Dave this month. That was exciting. Like as soon as I accepted them, I saw Dave Bryant on all 6. It's like that's a good month for me. There's some that I'm not going to name by name that it's just like you get them. And it's like, oh man, I get 2 games with somebody, you're not going out.
It's like any workplace environment, though.
100%,
There's
yeah.
people you like to work with. There's people I like to work with, and there's people I have to work with. So it's just kind of the way the game goes.
Yeah. There's nobody I would say that I don't like to work with though. Like if there's anybody that I'm like, no, I'm not gonna work with that person. No, but there's definitely, the partners that you get the assignments, you're like, all right, that's going to be a boring trip. I'm not going out with the boys after the game. We're not going to, have any sort of interaction during the trip. It's just going to be, okay, I have to figure out my plan. Where it's like with Dave, let's go golfing this morning. We're going to Sheridan next week. I think we're going fly fishing.
Fly fishing, yeah.
Oh, okay. No, that'll be a way good time too.
So yeah, that kind of shows you a little bit of like, okay, who you're going to work with, the dynamic of relationship you have. But
And it's important because that's time to really bond with everybody, and it's fun. I mean, we're not only referees, we're people too.
Yeah, and that's kind of the part about this, especially. I think this is probably the 3rd year that I've worked down there and had you guys coming up, and I don't think people in the arena maybe realize, one, kind of how much fun we all have when we're down there and doing it, but it's like you hear it of all officials, like, man, why do you hate our team? Why do you like you guys? You don't care. Like you're just here to do your job, referee a hockey game.
Yeah.
Move on to the next one and get home.
Yeah. The coaches got to do their job.
100%.
We're gonna come in and do our job, and it's kind of like the Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner. They punch in on the clock, they go at it each other, and end of the game we respect each other. So it's the way it is.
How long? Okay, so how long have you guys been in the officials game?
Boy, I've been working a long time. I took some time off, but I worked way back in the American Frontier League when it was Casper and some of those other teams.
Okay.
And I recently just came back 2 years ago.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I worked a lot of junior hockey.
Gotcha.
And this is my 4th year.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm still relatively new, but getting to the point where I can say I have a little bit of experience as well.
Okay. So what got you guys into hockey in general? So we'll start with you. What?
Yeah, I played college hockey,
Okay. Where did you play at?
northern Minnesota.
Okay.
Little junior college right on the border of Canada.
Okay.
And I played up there for a couple of years, and I grew up in Vail, so
Okay.
it was a change. So, yeah, I came through some of the development camps with USA Hockey, and USA Hockey has been outstanding to me, and it's just a great program.
Okay. So from starting in Vail
Yeah.
to you've definitely seen the dynamic of hockey change,
Sure.
not only along like the Front Range in Colorado, but up through when we talked to Mark Frankenfeld in the first episode.
Yeah.
He talked about the growth of the frontier just here in Gillette, Sheridan, Rapid. Like, you've seen hockey explode.
Oh,
what
yeah.
has happened in Denver with the Avalanche coming to town,
Yeah.
and is this kind of how much is just the perception of hockey and hockey in general changed over your time?
Yeah, I mean, hockey's changed. There's so many more programs, to come with. The kids aren't just skating seasonal now; they're skating year round, and they're developing a lot quicker. But it's changed. I mean, hockey's not a big guys game anymore. It's a little guys. Little guys
Yeah.
are playing in the NHL. So I think from the development side of thing, the colleges and there's so many great programs out there for kids to go to, and even the officiating programs are outstanding. I have to refer back to USA Hockey because there's just so much opportunity for kids to grow. And I think the big thing for USA Hockey right now is keeping the young kids in there, keeping them, involved, supporting these kids with mentor programs. I know Denver has a great mentor program, Mike Chima, Rick Cohen, and some of the other guys that run it there. It's probably the,
What about you? So how did you get into it? So your hockey background.
I am the youngest child. I had 2 older brothers and an older sister, and kind of a family thing. My older brothers both played hockey, and obviously, just being the youngest, I was super competitive, and I had to be better than my brothers. So pretty much from the time I was 4 years old, I was brought out to the center of the ice. I wanted nothing to do with it. I was
Okay.
kicking and screaming and just didn't want it. My dad left me on the center circle at Sertich Ice Center and said good luck, skated away, and I was just sitting there going, oh, what do I do now? And it took me a few minutes. I finally got up the courage. I skated off the ice and I was hooked.
Yeah.
As soon as I got over that fit of like, oh man, I must have been tired that day or something, I was hooked. And then from there it turned into just grinding away, just playing street hockey with my brothers and my friends in the neighborhood. It would be constant battles, just one-on-ones or just 2-on-1s. It would just be me versus them, and I was always just trying to be the best. And then that just kind of made me into the player that I was. And I actually finished in the not sure what division it was, but with the Breezy Point North Stars
Okay.
in the NA3 in Minnesota. Finished up there, got my last competitive concussion, and that kind of took me out of the competitive realm. But yeah, just being the youngest kid and just having that competitive nature, and just having my oldest brothers beating up on me all the time, it just made me want to be that much better. And between you and I was I was scoring on them by the time I was 5, but that is what it is.
Yeah. Now, are you guys just signed to the NA3HL from the standpoint of the junior level? Because I know like Pueblo has the Bulls.
Mm-hmm.
So is that a deal where do you officiate any in that, or can you, or how does it work like contractually? Are you obligated to just the NA3HL at the junior level?
It's not actually a contract obligation to be like we can only be here or there or there. With the Frontier Division and the way the Pueblo Bulls kind of operate, it's a little bit like the Wild Wild West. Like anybody who's competent enough to or skilled enough, I should say, to be here, has a shot here. It's you can honestly ref a Gillette game on a Saturday, make the drive back for a Sunday game in Pueblo, and have no issue. The only time it really becomes a contract obligation is if you get into the ODP, which is the USA Hockey Official Development Program.
Okay.
And then those guys typically start out in the NA3 and like NA kind of commingle in those two, and then the next year they'll go like USHL, NA kind of, and it tiers up. But for us, it's kind of just if you're available and you can kind of plot a good chart throughout the month and just get whatever games you can. It's not difficult, but it's not easy either. It's you have to be able to do the game, and it's not a contract, no.
Okay, so as the youth organizations kind of fire up, I know we had talked, I think it was on the phone, we kind of talked about sitting down to do this. Mm-hmm. You had talked about our ref in chief in our youth association that you were going to jump on and maybe do some of the youth games here. So is that something you do? One, it's just extra money that you get for the bang for the buck. But you enjoy
it's fun
working the younger games too.
A lot of times, you make that interaction with a young guy, and you give them some tips, and sometimes you learn stuff from the young guys too. So it's a win-win, but that's probably the funnest thing for me in the last 2 years as I came up and I got to work the state Pee Wee high school the state Pee Wee tournament up here, and I got to work with some young kids. Yeah. So I mean, I guess it's a twofold. It's just great because you get back. So.
And it's an opportunity for you guys to kind of get on. I know with me, the two daughters that they're at the high school level with our high school girls team. One of them, she tried officiating last year. She just didn't like it. It wasn't her thing. She's not as flamboyant as my youngest.
Sure.
So my youngest now, she's a freshman. She's actually has her class tomorrow.
Yeah.
Level 1, and she wants to get into it. So
good.
I think it's important when those kids are getting into it that they have, because I assume officiating is the same as when you're playing a sport. The more you do it, kind of the more the game slows down a little bit for you.
100%.
So whereas when they're out there at the squirt and Pee Wee level, it seems like it's going 90 miles an hour. And as they get more comfortable, everything slows down.
Yeah. I mean, I remember I reffed for about 6-7 months before I got my patch just at a beer league in Colorado because they were hurting for guys that bad. But we didn't have the opportunity for a seminar, and my buddy was just like, hey, just come do a couple games with me and see if you like it. And a novice beer league game looked like the NHL. From the first time stepping on the ice, you're wondering what's going on, how to be in position, and you're just constantly thinking about how not to screw it up, and it's just moving. And now you step onto that same ice, and you're like, oh man, I'm trying to stay awake. No offense to anybody,
it's just slower,
but it's just one of those things where you're like, oh man, like you overskate a play and you're just 20 feet ahead of where you should be because you might have done this game last night and you're busting. You're moving and you're having to work at it, and then you step onto that ice and again you're just kind of like, oh man, like you're waiting for things to happen that just aren't going to happen. So it's definitely a dynamic, but kind of doing the games during the day and like filling that time, that's a lot of it too, because a lot of times we're just like the players, we're kind of sitting around on a Saturday afternoon going, what do we do? So just being able to be at the rink and being around hockey, being around the mentality, being around the guys. Some of my best friends in Sheridan I've met through officiating games that have nothing to do with the NA3.
Gotcha.
So every time I'm there, it's a great support group to be able to call a few guys and be like, hey, let's go do this or let's go do that and have a good time.
Or maybe having the people in the town to just say, hey, what can I go do for
100%.
2 hours?
And then you'll see guys, because obviously hockey is a small community, it's a small world. You'll see guys at the rink during the day that are going to be there involved with that junior game, and it gives you an opportunity just to interact. And sometimes that goes so much farther in a problem situation where you might have kind of a trouble thing where you're like, okay, we're just not seeing eye to eye in this junior game. But then you might see them at the rink the next day, completely different mentality, And it's just now we get to be on a person level and talk about it, and then it's a completely different dynamic to the relationship, because then they realize we're a person too. We're not out there just trying to screw their team over.
Oh, yeah.
And we kind of realize they're not out there just to hammer on us. It's just like every time a hockey game starts, those emotions get involved and people become kind of different people. Even myself, I admit to it. It's just you get to build that rapport and you get to build that personal relationship instead of just that game relationship where it could be, okay, that was the worst game of my life, now everybody hates me. And it's a little bit more personalized, and you get to build rapport and relationships, and that's huge. When you guys were talking about, you mentioned like the positioning and stuff. I don't know if people understand the aspect of it I mean, in a sense, you guys are kind of running plays amongst the three of you on where you go and where you're setting up. I think it was, I can't remember if it was last year. I'm pretty sure it was last season. It was one of the times at Old Chicago. I can't remember if it was you that was there, but Jenna was at the bar, and she's a lady from Miles City that comes down. I love Jenna.
Great official.
Yeah.
But she made mention of, I think she had either taken a year off or taken some time off, and she made mention of how much faster the game had got in just that little period of time she had taken off.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that, even at the three level or down, how much quicker it's getting?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm talking a lot.
No, when I came back, it
How
was
long
fast.
was your break?
Oh man, I was off 8 years.
Okay, so what was probably the biggest change in the game in the 8 years?
Some of the size of some of the players and the speed.
Okay.
So definitely the flow. But
Okay, we were talking little man game. The hockey players have gotten smaller. There's not as many, of the big bruisers. You even see that from the NHL down. Take officiating out of it. You just your hockey fan hat.
Yeah.
Do you like where it's at now, or do you like the bigger bruiser style of hockey?
I like where it is now.
Okay.
It's more of a finesse game. You got to keep your head up. Big guys play as big guys, but there's a lot of, you look at guys like Ron Haydu. That guy plays twice his body weight. You play and some of these junior kids you're watching in the NA, they play very big for their size and they're strong in their skates. So that's really changed a lot. Yeah.
Does that make it harder to keep up when you? Because I assume, do you 4-man and then 3-man, or do you guys? It's always strictly 3-man in the NA3.
It could be either, but right now they use 3-man.
Okay. Will it ever get to the point where is it easier? Is it easier to 4-man from the standpoint of calling everything that's going to happen in the game?
Definitely, yeah. Having eyes in each end.
Okay.
It's probably you're going to get more penalties, consistent penalties. So it's definitely a system that USA Hockey is developing right now.
Gotcha. So how close are we at the NA3HL level to go where you're just damn near going to have
You're
a
close.
4-man because it's happening?
As soon as they can field the referees, I believe that they'd be going for. Yeah.
Gotcha. Once you get that,
I feel like
staff.
That's been the rumblings for the last 2 years, and then last year it really kind of hit off to the point where there is a little bit of a solidified idea that in the next couple years it is feasible to see a 4-man system. I think in all honesty, this would be the perfect league for it, just because of how much stuff can tend to happen 50 feet away from the play. And it's not a knock against anybody. I played, so I get it. And that mentality of a game, when you're battling back and forth, we have to follow the play in certain situations, and it can be as quick as glancing over here and then glancing back, and then as soon as you glance back, someone's on the ice.
Yeah.
You're trying to piece it together then.
And
you're trying to play investigator. You're like, what just happened? And then you might pull in your linesman, but having that back guy and having 2 sets of eyes on penalties is huge.
Yeah.
Unless you know and like how established that idea is, you can't compare it. Even having a 2-man system where you're having two sets of eyes just looking at penalties. Those have been some of my easiest games up here. We've had a couple situations where our third man couldn't make it, so we've been situated where we have to do that two-man system.
Okay.
And just from a penalty perspective, at least 60% smoother. From an overall perspective, maybe not as smooth, but just from a penalty perspective and a game management, having those two sets of eyes, by far my two easiest games.
Yeah.
The offsides and the icings and the linesman duties that would get missed during those games didn't seem as detrimental as we were catching more along the referee side.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, well, last night I think was a perfect example. There was a situation where Declan got hit in the mouth, and it wasn't. I mean, it was just the puck had come out to him, and it happened right in front of us. He had put down. The kid was kind of reaching to pick up his stick, and Declan moved it, and it hit it. It was just it happened. Well, there were two kids that had just hit along the boards, and I mean, it was. Like you said, you took a half a second to make sure nothing dumb happened there. You look back, Declan's down. It comes to a stop, and then you bring the linesmen together and you guys talk. Like, is that, in situations like that, do you rely on the linesmen to kind of get together and be like, all right, what did you see? What happened there?
100%.
Okay.
In contrary to popular belief, linesmen can call penalties.
Okay. Okay, now see, I did not know, because the ladies actually asked me that last night, and that's what I told them. I was like, well, I don't know. I didn't know how that works.
There are caveats.
Okay.
So like a minor hooking just down center ice, that's not something that a linesman's going to step in on.
Okay.
But like a bench minor where like the coach, the coaching staff or some of the players on the bench might say something that's detrimental or penalty worthy.
Yeah.
Absolutely can report that.
Okay.
To the referee, and then it's kind of up to his discretion.
Okay.
But in that situation, I knew something had happened. And like you get that, okay, something just happened right here. I have no idea what just happened right here. And it's not trying to escape from anything. It's not trying to create an excuse. It's owning up to when
You can only be watching one part of the game at one time.
100%. So with that type of penalty, when there's that injury potential, the linesman can call a major penalty. And they can give their account on what happened during like a dangerous situation like that one.
Okay.
And I'll take responsibility for I labeled that penalty wrong. It should have been a 5-minute major. But we went with what we went with last year. So that's like a period of adjustment we have too. Of it is a new rule change year, and in the moment. We went on what was 100% in memory, not what was, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and that's what I don't think people understand either.
And
Because that happens down there when we're so you're trying to report a penalty. So and it's when it starts to get chaotic when there is multiple infractions on a whistle and it's 4s or 5s or 10s. Both coaches are screaming at you from the side. You're trying to report to us. We're playing music in there, so we can't hear some of the adult language that's being spoken down there. And it's, this is from just as a first generation hockey person. Never grew up around it. Never nothing until my daughters got into it.
Huh.
The rule book and the coincidentals and some of the real deep down into the book stuff. It's confusing on what to know to report, and you want to get it right, but you also don't want to stop the game for 7 minutes. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Because that's just how it's going. So I don't think people realize enough of what
and then we get
decisions have to be. And then you get yelled.
Yeah,
So
a lot.
So it was early on. No names, no nothing, but this was early on when I was volunteering. You had the bands on at one of the games. It was the Friday night of the story I'm telling. So it's a Friday night of a 2-game series. We dropped the puck, like 7 seconds come off the clock. And I was fresh at what I was doing, and I've really learned to try to keep it where there's no, if you keep it quiet in there, someone's going to say the F word. That's just how it goes. Well, I mean, we had just played the national anthem. Everything was getting done. We blow a whistle. A coach obviously didn't like something you did in the first 7 seconds, and he just starts mother effer mother. And this is 7 seconds into the first game of the weekend game, and that's just that's not the best way to get on your good side to start the weekend.
Yeah, we're human. And it's one of those things where we're not looking to go into a game holding a grudge. We're not going into a game looking at one team over another team going screw this team in particular. I can honestly say that's not a thing.
Yeah.
At least from me, it's not.
You guys don't care who wins, contrary to popular belief.
99.999% of other refs, I can attest to that too as well. And believe it or not, we don't have money on the game. As much as we enjoy sports gambling like everybody else and FanDuel and whatnot, we don't have money on our games that we ref. It's never gonna happen, never will. It's one of those things I genuinely go into every single game as I just want to see a competitive hockey game, and respectfully, like a 13-2 hockey game, that's boring.
Yeah.
Like, we're all there going, yeah, we know how this is gonna go. A 4-3 hockey game where it's like intense the entire way and it's going back and forth is so much more entertaining. But to speak to that particular game, it's one of those things where, just from a human perspective, for a coach to think that that's a good idea, to think, okay, well, if I mother this ref 10 seconds into the game, he's going to give me all the calls.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. I'm sorry, but no. Like those ticky-tack 50-50 calls probably are going to go the other way.
Subconsciously, you're not even doing it on purpose.
No, it's exactly right. And it's one of those things where it's like, the next time you have an argument against me, you might be completely valid point, and I will try to respect that, but your credibility has gone the other way, and it's like we're trying to have a professional relationship here, and that's where I'm trying to take it. But what sense is that going to do your team in the long run with that official? Like, we have memories, and I can speak to other refs, the locker room talk and everything that we do. We have memories, like if we have a problem coach that we know we're going into that we might have to be a little bit more either assertive or gentle with, or just make sure right off the get-go they know exactly where we stand, instead of giving them a leash and giving them that respect. Sometimes it's just, hey, this is where we need to be, and if you break that, that's on you. I'm here to ref a game, and if you decide 7 seconds in that you want to take it to that level, unfortunately that's on you. Like, that's just the way it is, because the other coach likes me right now, so I'm gonna hang out with them. It's like I'm here to not break my mental sanity. So if I'm gonna go make a joke with a team, or if I'm gonna go hang out with a goalie, it's probably gonna be the team that likes me a little bit more at the time. I'm still gonna try to do everything I can to diffuse that situation and talk to some of the players that I know on that team that I do have that better rapport with.
Yeah.
But those ticky-tack 50-50 calls and the game management and everything that's involved, you're not doing your team any favors.
Yeah.
It's just not a thing. And that's unfortunately, I think, the biggest problem we run into as far as the abuse side of it, because sometimes I coached for 5 years before I even ref. So I let some refs have it. I'm not gonna hide from that. It's like, what are you doing out here? Like, you're having a bad day. I can tell you're having a bad day. But looking back on it in hindsight, that ref might not have been having a bad day. I just didn't know what I was talking about. He's out there doing his job, and I only see a perspective of that. I only see a sliver. So he might be having the best game of his life, and I just saw a sliver of what he did wrong. And I'm like, nah, that's it. But it's building that rapport and building that relationship that is going to benefit your team and benefit just the sanctity of the game and move it in the right direction. But to that point of, that game was rough. And that just, it gets in your mind, and it shouldn't, but it does. You're only human to block out as much as you can, but then, it's...
There's still emotions.
Right. You try to eliminate them, but until you put on the bands, don't come talk to me about it. You know what I mean? Like...
So how is it when you were talking about the 13-3 versus like 4-3? the good tight games seem to be smoother from the standpoint of there's nothing dumb's going to happen, nothing cheap's going to happen. So does that, when it does start to get 7-0, 8-0, 9-0 for you guys too, it starts getting chippy, and that sucks. That's not fun for anybody.
Yeah, you gotta. I mean, it's just it kind of changes from calling the game to managing the game. I mean, you're always managing the game, but you just gotta be, you gotta be really focused and always communicating with your team, and everybody's an important part. So yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Couple more things before we go. You guys had mentioned. I know we talked last night about you guys enjoy coming to Gillette. You enjoy Spirit Hall. What is it, maybe within the Frontier and in the places you go, what is it about Spirit Hall that you guys, that you enjoy coming up and officiating in?
Spirit Hall, as far as the facility goes, one of the nicest rinks I've been in. Just the facility itself, that stands on its own. The people make it 100 times better. Like people like yourself, Sheila, Christine, like I was like, don't kill me, Dwayne.
Yeah,
I'm drawing a blank on Dwayne's name. Dwayne, like having those relationships and just being in that environment it's fun. It really is. It helps you build relationships, and it helps you network yourself to the point where having someone like Dwayne on your side is huge. Even if hockey's not involved, having someone like Dwayne, having someone like yourself, just having people in your corner and just building those relationships, that to me is what it's all about. Physically speaking, Spirit Hall, you guys have a beautiful facility. I can't think of any rinks besides maybe the Air Force Academy. That's kind of cheating.
That's not it's not Sertich. That's the one. McClure? What is Air Force called? There's McClure the basketball.
You're on the right track.
Yeah, I've been because I watched.
It's no, not. You're on the right track.
Yeah,
I'd have to go.
Yeah.
I always just call it the Ice Center or the field house.
Yep.
My high school, that was our home practice rink, and we always just called it the field house. That was it to us, but it's hard to compete with that ice.
Yeah.
I know a couple of the Zan drivers there.
Clune is the basketball.
Clune is the basketball.
Yeah,
yes,
it's
sir.
whatever. Yeah, it's just outside there. That's an awesome little setup they have.
100%. Yeah.
Okay, I gotta ask. This is ignorant, non-hockey person. Okay, so why do some guys get tossed out of face-off? What's the rule of a face-off? I never understood, what dictates... Okay, first, what's supposed to happen at the face-off? Is something dictated by home team, away team, or what? Because I honestly have tried to figure this out and watch, but I've never asked an official, but sometimes I will see them, and then they'll be standing there, and nothing will happen, and then he'll point at a guy and get out. Yeah. So is that guy supposed to put his stick down, or what is supposed to happen at a face-off?
Well, you have different leagues, different rules. Most of the time, the attacking team is going to set up first.
Okay, so the attacking team. So is there in theory, is there an advantage to being able to set up second?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha. So that's why the away team, by setup, you'll see they put their stick down on the ice first. Okay.
Or they'll come through early. But actually, the game you saw last night, there is a rule in the NHL 3 that you do not eject those players anymore. You reset, and if one of them would have a bad response in the face-off, then there would be a delay of penalty. That's
okay.
the rule
Gotcha.
now, yeah.
Okay.
So USA Hockey, you're going to eject the center. In the NA now, we found out last night that you do not eject.
Okay, gotcha. So then you just reset, and if they do it again, it's 2 minutes?
Yeah, it could be 2 minutes.
Okay.
It'll be a management thing from Seth or me.
Yeah, as I say, you tonight.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So it kind of depends. Like the old way, it used to be toss that first center. New center would come in, and then if that center got tossed, then it was the delay of game penalty. Now it's that center stays, but you give a warning to that team. and that center stays, and then if the second violation occurs, then it could be a delay of game penalty. If your ref is watching the situation and he just in his mind is like, no, like something's not right there, that doesn't warrant the delay. As a ref, I'm not trying to do that, but you do have that option of discrepancy.
Yeah.
But 99.9% of the time, you're gonna agree with your linesman, and we're a team out there. So if I don't agree with my linesman, he's not gonna help me out the next time, right? Like, I'm on his team. I've got his back, and I know he's got my back. So if I don't give him that delay of game penalty, the next time there's like a trouble situation, he might just be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't. But that's just the humanistic side of it, of just being like, yeah, we're a team out there and we're trying to play together. So yeah, that's on face-offs more times than not. Honestly, it's the winger. Like, it might not have anything to do with those two centers, but if I'm telling the winger behind me to stay back and he keeps on coming 5 feet into the circle before I have a chance to get the puck down, that's his fault. It has nothing to do with the center, but that still would have been enough reason to toss that center. But nowadays, it's just the warning to the center.
So, okay, on that, and I'm pretty sure you were reffing, and Jenna was on the lines, and it was where we were sitting. The face-off was just to our left, and you had 2 kids that kept skating, and I think you backed them off like 2 or 3 times, and then she came in. And she said, and I don't think those 2 young men had ever heard a woman speak to them the way she did.
That's so awesome.
They went like 15 feet back, and they just stood there until the puck was dropped.
Yep.
So that was where you were trying to work it, and finally your linesman come in and said, no, man, we're done. Like, we need to get going.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Cool.
And it all just depends on who your partner is and how much you guys are working together that night. But everyone has their own style, where some guys don't even look behind them before they get the puck down. So that guy on top is looking at it like, what are you doing? Like, it's like a train wreck's about to happen, honestly. Because like, you'll have a guy 2 feet behind him, and as soon as that puck goes down, they're going 100% to it. So it just creates it's a safety thing. It truly is just a safety thing for us. And
well, yeah, because you can't have. It's no different than an offensive lineman getting rolled up on in football. Like when you're dropping it, and the linesman or whatever, when they're going to leave, you can't have 2 kids with sticks back here cutting your knees out,
right?
Because then you're just going to get somebody hurt.
Yeah,
that's 100%, and that's really what it boils down to. Is just the circle's there to just keep them. It's a proximity point. Just stay there until I get the puck down, and that gives me an opportunity as soon as I drop it to recognize what's coming behind me and hopefully avoid the impact or minimize it as best as I can. But I understand the territory, like you're trying to gain an advantage, but if both people are at the same spot, it's up to you to just, like, it's fair, and then as soon as the puck drops, then it's up to you to just be better and get the position and go from there. But it 100% just a safety thing, and most of the times when a center gets tossed, has nothing to do with the center.
Gotcha.
And they're looking at us too. They're looking at, what'd I do? And it's like, you didn't do anything.
But your buddy back there,
this guy,
he's causing
and you're
issues.
trying to tell him like, hey, tell your winger if you want to take a drop, tell your winger the next time. That's what he did.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with you. But now it's a cool new rule, and I do agree with it. Like, you just give them a warning, and you just say, hey, it's this guy. Like, tell him to calm down, and we have no issues. And 99% of the time they get it, and they don't have any other problems. But no.
Nice, okay. We're gonna let you guys get out of here. You're gonna go try Ranch and Roost back here. Your first time here at Big Lost. First of all, we did the Irish Reds. Did you like it?
It was beautiful.
Good beer.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
so nice. And then overall, the ambiance, everything. You guys, this place is pretty cool.
it's fantastic.
100%.
Nice.
Well,
Well,
just adds more to Gillette. I love
cool.
this
Yeah.
stuff.
No, this is I had heard about it.
This is a really neat place.
Probably
It
a
is.
week ago, I came down and we found this room, and so that's where we're going to kind of do this moving forward. So
Heck
I
yeah.
appreciate you guys carving out some time.
Absolutely.
And I know I'll see you again here.
We'll
throughout
see you
the
tonight.
season. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
All right, I'm very thankful for Seth and Dave sitting down to do that. For one, it bailed me out this week, and I enjoyed the conversation with them. Kind of know where those guys are coming from. They're officials. They're people too, and I know they're getting paid, but I am going to assume they're not getting rich. So they are doing a job, and I mean, I guess if you want to come out and, like I said when I introduced them, they drive hundreds, if not thousands of miles every weekend for you to come out and just tell them how shitty they are at their jobs. So they kind of know that. They sign up for it. It's just, I think it's unfortunate when, I don't know. I think they're good guys. I think the officials we get, I think they do a thankless job, because sometimes stuff gets silly. Just like you saw in the video from Saturday at Bozeman. Sometimes the boys just start hitting each other and tripping each other and acting silly, and then someone has to step in and stop it. So I appreciate those guys doing it. We haven't seen them since that interview. They haven't been back, so I'm kind of starting to think maybe it was me, and maybe there's something that they just don't want to come back to Gillette anymore. I do hope I get the chance to see those guys again. Didn't get to go out to old Chicago with them, so that's something that we've done in the past too. So go have a beer with the rest after the game. This weekend, we've been talking about it now for 10 episodes. Didn't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but we have spoke it into existence. Undefeated Helena, undefeated Gillette, Friday and Saturday night, 7:05 in Helena. Like I said, if you are going to make the trip, you need to get your tickets, get that shit squared away before you head up there, because you do not want to drive up there and get turned away. If it does sell out, turn on Hockey TV. Hockey TV, sign up. If you only want to do it for this weekend, just do a single month. Hell, that's 10% of what it will cost you just in gas to drive up there. Rent the game, stay home, cast it to the big screen, watch it on your iPad, whatever you have to do. It is going to be a very good hockey game. Chatted with a couple of the boys Tuesday, I believe, after practice. Had to run to Spirit Hall, ran into a couple of them. They know what they're going into. They know what they're walking into in the atmosphere, and there's going to be 2,000 people there, and it's those aluminum bleachers, and they're going to be stomping, and like it's... As an athlete, or as a competitor, or as even the fan of your favorite team that's playing at the top level, them to have the chance to go on the road into somewhere like that, it's as cool of an atmosphere as those guys are going to get a play in. It's going to be hostile, and it's going to be loud, and there's not going to be 30 people there on our side, and it's going to be awesome to watch. So I will be watching, following along both Friday and Saturday night. Best of luck to the boys. I know they can do it. Two really good hockey teams going to face off, and it's going to be fun to watch. So if you are traveling and making the trip, safe travels. Be careful. I do think the weather will be nice. We've so far so good on the weather through the years. I know some of the volunteers and the folks that help out with the Wild and stuff at the home games, they are traveling with the Youth Association with the Grizzlies this weekend. They'll be watching from Pinedale, Laramie maybe. Oh no, Cody. I know we got a group one over there, so there's gonna be people tuned in all over the state at the hotels watching these games. So good luck, fellas. We'll be following along. We'll catch you guys next week. I won't screw up. We'll get a couple of the boys on next week, and we'll get back into our rhythm here. So thanks for tuning in. See you guys next week.